Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. He is State Representative Jim Struzzi, and he's in the studio with us this morning, brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people, and so are the days of our House of Representatives. It's like a soap opera there.
Well, it certainly is, Todd. Good morning, and thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you with us today. So yet another new Speaker of the House.
Yes.
We've been through a bunch of those in the last few years.
Yes, we have.
But this particular one, it's history-making.
It certainly is, yes. And you know, congratulations to Speaker McClinton being the first female, the second African-American Speaker of the House. So kudos to her for achieving that. You know, I know Joanna. I've known her for the 4 years. She's been very nice to me since I've been in office. We'll see how she is as Speaker. I wasn't very happy with the way things went yesterday. If anyone had the opportunity to watch some of those proceedings as we voted on House rules, it was a completely partisan vote with all the Democrats voting in favor of their rules, all Republicans voting no. And really, the frustrating part to me is that they circumvented the democratic process in approving those rules. They passed a resolution, again, solely on party lines, to not allow the rules to be amended. So they show us their rules for the first time Tuesday evening. Mm-hmm. So we have an opportunity. I read through all 120 pages of the rules Tuesday evening. Wednesday morning, prior to the vote, they roll out a different set of rules. We barely have time to review those rules, and then they pass a resolution, again, on party lines, to not allow those rules to be amended or changed in any way. And that's really not how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to work together to establish rules. And some of the things in those rules aren't bad. I don't disagree with all of them. But the process, when you don't allow amendments or even amendments to be discussed on the floor, to me is not the democratic process, and it's really not the way our Constitution set us up to function as a government.
And it's strategic, it sounds like. It was actually a strategy of theirs to wait until this last second to do that.
Well, I believe it certainly was. And then on top of that, they cut off floor debate. So literally in the middle of making comments, Speaker McClinton cut off Minority Leader Cutler in the middle of his remarks and went straight to a vote. And to me, that I hope that's not a precedent on how it's going to be for the next 2 years, because the people that we represent, their voices need to be heard. And that process is through the amendments. It's through floor debate. You know, it's through those discussions that occur expressing different points of view. That's how our democracy was established. Mm-hmm. And when you skip over all of that and just go right to a vote because you know you have the majority, to me, that's un-American.
Their position would be that that's the way it's always been. Did it operate that way under Republican control?
Well, let's put it this way. Minority Leader Cutler said this yesterday. In the 2 years that he was Speaker, we only moved to a vote without debate twice in 2 years. They've done it twice already this session under the new Speaker.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that being the case, the big issue that folks are concerned most about, it seems, is the constitutional amendment issue, which really comes down to a wrestling match with the state Senate right now, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does, and as soon as the rules were approved yesterday, the Judiciary Committee was established. None of our other committees have been established yet, although I'm encouraged now that we have rules that we will get our committee assignments. But the Judiciary Committee met immediately after the rules were approved yesterday, and they split Senate Bill 1, from my understanding. So they took the statute of limitations constitutional amendment out of Senate Bill 1 and removed it from the regulatory reform and the voter ID constitutional amendments. So I assume then next week when we come back into session, they will try to move that revised version of Senate Bill 1, but there's no guarantee the Senate will take that up. Mm-hmm. And so it's really new territory for a lot of us. You know, I've been in there for going on 5 years now, and I've experienced a lot, but I've never seen anything like this.
So the statute of limitations provision, that's the one the Wolf administration messed up last year.
Yes.
Didn't get on the ballot.
Yes.
They, through their own errors, they failed to get that on the ballot. So,
yes, they failed to advertise it appropriately.
Yeah, so that's one issue. The Senate had tied the other two issues in there. The one that concerns, I think, most folks, or folks a lot, is voter ID.
Right.
Polls show that it's got overwhelming support in Pennsylvania and really across the nation, but we just haven't been able to push that over the finish line, have we?
No, we haven't, and I really I don't understand the opposition to it. What is wrong with showing an ID when you go to vote? You need an ID for many things in our society, even to purchase alcohol, to do just about anything. You need an ID. So what's wrong with showing an ID when you go to vote? I don't understand the opposition to that. Regulatory reform is important. It gets to the Reggie issue. The government shouldn't have, or the governor and the administration shouldn't have the power they have when it comes to establishing rules and regulations that impact business, that create taxes, that do things like that, when it should be the purview of the General Assembly to have a say in that. That's right. The other constitutional amendment, the regulatory reform one, is so important. And Reggie is still out there, even though it's in the courts right now. It is still a pending threat to our energy production industry here in Pennsylvania. That's why now that we can introduce legislation, I'm going to be reintroducing my Reggie bill that requires General Assembly. For those who are listening and don't know, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative is Reggie. That would create essentially what the former administration called a fee on carbon emissions, but it's really a tax. And by the Constitution, only the General Assembly can create a tax, not the governor and his administration. That's my bill would clearly define that, to say that only the General Assembly has the authority to enter into a multi-state compact that creates a tax like Reggie. So I will be reintroducing that hopefully today or tomorrow, now that we can reintroduce bills. But that's why regulatory reform is so important, because one person should not have the power to establish rules like that.
Governor Wolf was having none of that.
Right.
What's Governor Shapiro say?
Well, I think it's yet to be determined. Governor Shapiro, in his campaign speeches said that, he thought Reggie was bad for Pennsylvania. Now, candidate Shapiro says one thing, Governor Shapiro may say another thing. And so that is yet to be determined. I hope that he will, continue to have that thought that, our energy industry in Pennsylvania is so vitally important, particularly here in Indiana County with our power plants and our natural resources that we have in abundance here. I hope he sees that is the future for Pennsylvania. A diverse energy portfolio. Anyone in energy production, anyone in the fossil fuel industries will say you need the diversity of energy. But guess what saved us during that Christmas storms?
Sure.
It was fossil fuels. It was coal, literally. Coal heated our homes over the Christmas season this year, and people need to be cognizant of that. You can't rely on one energy source, particularly in those extreme weather events.
So those are some really partisan. I don't know if partisan's even the word I want to say. They're polarizing. There are polarizing issues between the Democratic side of the House and the Republican side of the House. Not everything is that way. I'm hoping your mental health legislation is able to get over the finish line here today. What's your feeling on it with the new House?
I think there's going to be a lot of positives. I think there are a lot of issues that we will be able to work together, and certainly mental health, addiction, those types of things are issues that, because they don't affect a particular type of people, they don't affect a particular demographic, they affect all of us. So I think that, even the new speaker said that in her acceptance speech. There are issues that we need to come together on, and I hope that she holds true to that. I know that I am a co-chair, along with two Democrats and another Republican of the Mental Health Caucus. And we meet, and there's no partisan sense to it. It's about how can we, move forward with mental health legislation that actually helps people. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and with the slim majority, you do have to work together. We're going to have to work together on many of these issues. Voting on procedural things, voting on rules is one thing, and people can stick together, partisan, if they choose. But when you're talking about issues, I think you'll see more people, cross party lines, because we have to vote for the issues. We have to pass legislation that helps the people we represent.
All right. So anything you have going on within the district before you get back to Harrisburg?
Well, it's been kind of hard to establish a schedule, Todd, with, the fluctuating speaker. And, we have a schedule right now through the budget. We'll see if that holds true with the new speaker, because the former speaker, temporary speaker, Rozzi, had established a schedule. So we'll see. Once we have that firmed up and we're certain that that's going to be the schedule, I am planning some town hall meetings, particularly in the new areas that I picked up in the redistricting. We're going to have an agricultural breakfast where I'm hoping to bring Secretary Redding in to talk about issues affecting agriculture. Planning, if possible, to do some senior events and possibly some events for veterans.
You mentioned Secretary Redding. Shapiro administration isn't set up yet. I mean, they've still got some offices to be moved into.
Yes.
Of course, the budget message will be coming up this month, and everyone
Next
will have
week.
an interest in that.
Yes.
And so as you look at working with the Shapiro administration, hopeful signs early, I hope?
I think so. I think, as I said previously, the governor appreciates the process that needs to occur within the General Assembly to move legislation, to pass a budget, the give and take that needs to occur. We'll see. He's rolling out his budget on Tuesday. I will be there for that. And, I'm most likely going to be on appropriations again, although, as I said, we won't have our committee assignments. Hopefully we will this week, but we don't have them yet. And so, I'm hopeful that his budget reflects the needs of Pennsylvania, that it is a realistic budget, that is a fiscally responsible budget, not the pie in the sky stuff that the former administration would put out there, and that we would have to bicker back and forth to reel back into. The bottom line is the budget, it has to be balanced. Revenues have to meet expenditures. You can't spend more than you have, and that's what gets us into those situations. And, almost every economic expert is predicting that we are going to have some challenges with revenues in the next few years. We have the rainy day fund, and we need to keep that because that's going to be our savings, moving forward should revenues decline as is being predicted.
Yeah. He's State Representative Jim Struzzi. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely, Todd. Thanks for having me.
It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS.
It's the Train Unstoppable event. Unstoppable solutions and unbelievable deals. There's never been a better time to buy a Train. When you buy a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system, you save today and lower your energy costs over time. It's a win-win for you. It's hard to stop a Train. Special offers and financing available. Call your local Train comfort specialist, Miller Plumbing and Heating, for details. Call 724-3